did you go to school?
And here's your...
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason moron.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink guy? Is this what pink guy is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
Well, I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the netherworld of cults, crims, and con artists. I'm Jack the Insider, otherwise known as Peter Hoisted for tax purposes.
And I'm Joel Hill, and on today's show, Nazis go to jail. Finally.
Yeah,
Good. And Trump cares more about the Kremlin than he does his own little America Firsty people.
And in SovCits v. the Man, we ask the question that has perplexed humanity for decades. Is it okay for SovCits who are just travelling, not driving, but with their headlights off? The answer will not surprise you.
I'm going to have to look at the legislation there, but we also will move on to other legislation with protests and flags. Is it illegal to display the Hezbollah flag in public? I'm going to go down the shops and find out right now. Look, I think we might just look at the script for that one.
Have you got anything in a Hezbollah?
Yes.
And after all that, you're going to need an icy cold beer, and the best icy cold beer is CBCO, our beloved sponsor, although we might have breached Carlton United Brewery trademarks there.
No.
We might be in a bit of trouble.
To be fair, the best cold beer has not been Vic for some time. It really just, no. But the best gold beer is CBCO Goldie, of which I have one right here. And if
it's
you
a
buy
mango.
It kind of is like a 4X gold. It's quite nice. And if you buy something and head to their website and upload the receipt and do all sorts of bullshit, you could win a fairly ridiculous holiday, which involves a private island, a helicopter, and beer. I mean, I'm guessing beer. It doesn't actually say that, but I mean, it seems implied, right?
Well, if you're a SovCit, Australia is a private island.
Yes, exactly. You will have entry to the corporation of your backyard. Look, I do think this one's worth a crack. The prize is apparently worth, I know, pun, right? It's apparently worth $125,000. How the fuck do you spend $125,000 on a holiday? Apparently there's a helicopter involved.
I could do it easily, Joe.
I think you probably just did. But look, it just seems like a lot of money to spend in a short time.
Indeed. So get yourself a cold one. Settle back while we do the driving. Travelling. SovCits style with the headlights off.
I can't actually see anything. Luckily, I am guided by God. This car is an extension of the Lord. But he's actually telling me now it's time for the Conditional Release Program's weekly news.
Well, God was wrong, Joel. We'll get to that in a moment. But while I'm travelling with headlights off, which is my right, by the way.
Absolutely.
First, we need to remind our beloved listeners that if you want to support the Conditional Release Program, there's a Patreon, and you can access all sorts of bonus content where Joel and I get a bit sweary for as little as $5 a month.
Or as much as $270 per year, as my good friend Leah found out recently.
Thank you,
Holy
Leah.
shit. Thank you. I will, lick your toes next time I see you. I mean, fuck, man. Thank you.
Yeah, but you do that all the time, Joel.
Well, I mean, look, it's basically the way you say hello in certain cultures. My culture, that is.
Oh.
And I don't know if Liz would like that, to be fair. And look, if you do go to patreon.com// the correct / the Conditional Release Program, you too can give us $270 or just $5.
We're going to do a whole corny bit about crashing the car, but it just seems corny now. So,
look,
we'll just move on.
I just had to give Leah a bit of thanks. Thank you, Ling Ling.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a few COVID test machines between friends. In his new book, War, Bob Woodward has claimed that the Donald, while POTUS, gave away a COVID testing machine known as Abbott's Point of Care Rapid Diagnostics to the Kremlin and his mate Vlad the Shirtless Putin. What is an Abbott's Point of Care Rapid Diagnostics for COVID? I hear you ask, listeners. Well, according to the manufacturers, Abbott's, it is a portable instrument that can be deployed where testing is needed most.
Did he only said one machine?
It's not clear. I mean, don't have the book to refer to because it's not actually out. We'll mention that in a minute. But it's machine or machines. We're not quite sure if it's more than one.
It becomes very personal if it's one machine. It's just that thing of like, I'm worried about you, friend. I'm worried about you. So I like that. Anyway, look, we'll go on. The machines ultimately became the world's largest molecular point-of-care installed base in the US. That's health gibberish for something important, and is available in a wide range of healthcare settings, including in Putin's lounge room.
And in footy team colours too, I believe.
Yeah, not in the North Melbourne ones, though. They don't sell well enough. We all suffer in silence. Abbott made these ID Now COVID-19 tests available in October 2020, and they were expected to ramp up manufacturing to deliver something like 50,000 tests per day.
And these machines were as scarce as rocking horse shit in 2020 when COVID was running wild across the US and, of course, the world.
Yeah, there were shortages.
Now, young Bobby Woodward has claimed that Trumpster sent the test machine, possibly more than one, to the Kremlin because he didn't want to let a mass-murdering tyrant get sick and not know about it.
Yeah.
Over to you and the BBC, Joel.
Yeah, so a new book by veteran Watergate reporter Bob Woodward says Donald Trump secretly sent coveted COVID-19 testing machine, coveted, yeah, so it is one, to Vladimir Putin for personal use when they were in short supply, a claim angrily dismissed by the Trump campaign,
Ooh, they were
of
angry.
course. The book, titled War, also includes a claim that Trump secretly has stayed in touch with Putin since leaving office, according to excerpts cited by US media. I guess someone's got the book. In response, former President Trump told ABC News, quote, he's a storyteller, a bad one, and he's lost his marbles. Oof, is that not projection?
Bob Woodward is a storyteller. He and Carl Bernstein told the story of Watergate in the Washington Post, which brought President Nixon down and forced his successor, Gerald Ford, to pardon the old warmonger. Bob's been around for a while.
Yes, he has.
He has been a recipient of nearly every major American journalism award. Hasn't won a Pulitzer, not on his own anyway, but
not as many
he
as my
has won the
sister.
Hayward Brown Award, the Worth Bingham Prize for Investigative Reporting, a Sigma Delta Chi Award, the George Polk Award, William Allen White Medal. That was in 2000. Most of those, the one that I just mentioned, were related to Watergate.
That was a big
and
story.
The Gerald R. Ford Prize for reporting on the presidency. That was in 2002. In 2012, Colby College presented Woodward with the Elijah Parish Lovejoy, he's one of the Lovejoys, Award for Courageous Journalism, as well as an honorary doctorate. So we'll leave it to our listeners to determine if Bob Woodward is a bad storyteller or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that just really did feel like some pretty sad-ass projection. Also, do you think that Gerald R. Ford would want his prize being given to Woodward? Do you think he'd be...
I presume it's the president, Gerald R. Ford.
I
can very quickly check.
I can't think of any others.
Ford
I just think it's
wasn't
very
a
funny.
bad man. And,
did he do like a mea culpa, like the sort of like what's the GST guy who's now like a massive...
He used to play. He was a very, very keen golfer after he left the presidency, and he used to tell anyone who'd play with him, he goes, I know I'm going to go to hell for pardoning Nixon. Anyway, there is not only a president named Gerald R. Ford, there's also an aircraft carrier.
Oh.
Ooh,
so you're telling me...
carrier after Ford. So, yes,
so the award is named after the aircraft carrier.
He's got an aircraft carrier named after him, yeah.
No. What's happening here is there's two Gerald R. Fords. There's the president and there's the aircraft carrier, and the prize is named after the aircraft carrier, and that's why it's not upsetting that it went to Woodward.
Oh, I see.
No, I'm being a dickhead, and I'll cut that up.
No, yes, I think you are. So yes, it's the USS Gerald R. Ford, but they don't give out awards for journalism. They send bombs and
yes, aircraft carriers,
things like that. Yeah, and
here's your award. Yes.
Got some serious shit on board.
They are very unpleasant. So yes, according to a report by the New York Times, the book describes one scene in which a Trump aide was ordered out of Trump's office in Mar-a-Lago so the former president could conduct a call with Putin.
Can you fuck off so I can talk to the dictator?
That's right. Vlad's on the phone and he doesn't wait for anyone. Mm-hmm. So, the unnamed aide reportedly said that the two may have spoken half a dozen times since Trump left the White House in 2021. Now, unsurprisingly, on Wednesday, the Kremlin denied the pair had spoken. And now we've all just decided it must be untrue because the Kremlin never lies.
Yeah, well, never once.
That's the thing. So the book does not say what they discussed. That's fine. But it does quote a Trump campaign official casting doubt on the supposed contact. So there's ambiguity there. But I think
So there it is. Other reports say Woodward's book claims Trump and Putin got chatty 7 times.
Ooh, that's more than 6.
And maybe that's why the orange one sent Vlad the machines. Trump didn't want his buddy Vlad to get sick and not be able to come to the phone. And then where would Trump be? Well, probably on the golf course. Yeah. But he would be sad teeing off at the first tee because he admires Vlad and wishes he had some people in his administration who had the cojones to invade another country and kill their civilians with bombing and missile runs while handing out Novichok cocktails to anyone he didn't trust, followed by a swift defenestration.
Of course.
Joel, if we have learned anything since Vlad the Shirtless took power of the Russian Federation, it is that Russians are very clumsy.
Oh, especially the rich and powerful.
They fall out of windows a lot.
Whoops.
Some of them only need to be within arm's reach of a window before they trip and fall out of it. Falling 12 stories to their deaths.
They just need to be more careful. Less vodka, more balance. Yeah. So, look, we don't know whether Woodward is right. Yes. Apparently, Novichok really enhances the effect of alcohol. Very problematic. So now we don't know whether Woodward is right or not because I haven't read the book. It's yet to be officially released.
Yeah, next week. But Bobby Woodward is old school, and I doubt that he would offer a source comment such as this without some backup. The book will hit the shelves around the world next week as we record this on the 11th of October. But as far as an October surprise goes, and that's a US presidential campaign thing, so, this is when you can get that big surprise that could turn things around. I don't think the news of Trump flicking a few of the remaining high-speed, high-volume COVID test machines in the country to his bosom buddy, who wouldn't have killed anybody or invaded Ukraine if Donald Trump was still president,
of course,
is going to do much to change the views on Trump.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's like Teflon with these scandals, and he just says it's fake news.
Fake news.
His usual trademark style, and his cult of red hat-wearing dipshit disciples will just shout something banal like the deep state cabal trying to stitch him up to
mainstream media.
Because you can't get through to these people. They're there's a fucking red wall of just they're in a cult.
Yeah. Look, expectations are so low in the US that Trump remains an even money chance to become POTUS again, where Trump can send care packages to Vlad anytime he likes and won't get pulled up about it by the lying mainstream media.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so we'll follow that one up. We'll be buying the book and reading it, but predominantly the book is a study of the Biden administration, Joel.
Yes. That's the
era. In that, he reports that there was a US national security assessment that it was about a 50-50, an even money chance that Putin would use nukes in and around the invasion of Ukraine. And that's very likely. I mean, they certainly did move tactical nuclear weapons, which are considered battlefield weapons, just kill everyone on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And they moved those off to Belarus. And that's where they sit, apparently.
Yeah, good.
These tactical nukes that can be used in battlefields anyway. So fair bit of saber rattling. And according to the powers that be in the Biden administration, he was an even money chance to use them.
Yeah, that's really good. So happy about that.
Let's just ring him up and have a chat with him.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Nazi shitheel Jacob Hersant is to receive a custodial sentence, the first of its kind, or the first conviction of its kind under Victorian laws which banned the Nazi salute in a public place.
Yeah, so he sort of got what he wanted in a way. There was every indication Hersant would be remanded in custody while awaiting sentencing, but the magistrate Brett Sonnet changed his mind and bailed Hersant out until his sentencing hearing in November, which is interesting. Now, here's the thing that got me, and I fully understand it is defence counsel's role to paint their clients in the best possible way. But Hersant's barrister, Tim Smart, with 2 T's, offered the following in defense of Hassant. Quote, Hassant was a family man and a full-time...
Nazi.
Yes, exactly. And full-time carer of his 2-year-old son while he was unemployed. Cool.
Of course, Goebbels was a family Nazi,
Oh, good.
although he did poison his children.
Oh, well, let's hope he doesn't do the same thing, because the kid's not a Nazi. He is. We don't have an issue with the child. The child is...
Do you think the unemployed Hassant, now that he's been convicted of giving it the old Sig Heil in public, do you think his streak as an unemployed man will continue, or do you think someone will go, I like the cut of this man's jib?
Well, speaking of cutting jibs, he actually does have something more to offer the world than just being a Nazi. You see, this is something that we all need to respect and admire. He has a career plan, and that is to continue his true love of poetry. He won a poetry competition in the US. Smart said, this poem was not connected to Nazi ideology. Isn't that nice?
It was a very funny exchange between his defence counsel, Smart, and the magistrate. Because Smart said, he goes, he writes poetry. He's won a competition.
That's lovely.
And the magistrate said, Nazi poetry? and he went, oh,
no.
Well, it depends, it's open to interpretation, but it was said that it wasn't Nazi stuff. I don't know, maybe Springtime for Hitler, although that's a song. How'd it go again? Don't be stupid, be a smarty, come and join the Nazi party.
That's very funny. Yeah, I don't know if he's that.
Yeah, so Smart did maintain that Hassant's poetry page, you'd be climbing walls to get hold of some of that.
It sounds very much like the dog paintings.
Wasn't actually Nazi poetry. He said he was a young person who was on track towards rehabilitation.
Really?
It is to laugh. And the offending was at the lower end of seriousness, so a $1,500 fine, if his honour pleases, was within the range. And that was all going really, really well until the magistrate noted...
Well, there'd been no guilty plea or signs of remorse, and Hassant had relevant prior convictions according to a Guardian report. So, that wasn't looking likely. So Hassant was quiet in court as he sat next to his mother and fellow neo-Nazi Thomas Sewell, because that's a good look, who carried a copy of Friedrich Nietzsche's On the Genealogy of Morals, a book popular with the far right, except for most of them can't read it. It's a really hard read.
Thomas Sewell, forklift driver, a lot of
philosopher.
Words. Nietzsche does run long, and anyone who reads an English translation of a German text will find that it doesn't translate terribly well, and it can be even more turgid. But Nietzsche has been appropriated by Nazis, and especially his writings on morality, because they foolishly think the German philosopher is telling them guilt and morality is a social construct, and it's okay to be a Nazi turd, and there's no need to feel guilty about it.
And they're all Uber-benchers, and they should go and bench press. Yeah.
And take steroids and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's your will to power, right? Fuck it, why not? So going into court in the afternoon, Hassant said he would appeal against the, quote, anti-white and tyrannical laws, and he was prepared to go to jail for his beliefs.
Well, then that's a good thing. He's ready.
Yeah, because he's going to.
He's ready to go.
Yeah.
And so he won't have any surprises come November. Bring your toothbrush, Nazi boy. The maximum jail term available to the magistrate is a 12-month jail term. So Mr. Hassant will not be doing a lot of time.
I don't imagine so, but, we'll see. We'll see. It doesn't sound like the judge exactly, or the magistrate actually loves him, so that's cool.
No, not a lot of love.
But as Hassant was leaving, he told reporters he would only make a comment when he appeals. Oh, he must be under very good legal
he
advice.
he won't be making any appeals. He won't be making any statements when he's sentenced, put it that way, not to the media.
Well, I'm just surprised.
He's going straight to jail.
Yeah, so she'll also clash with journalists because that's what he does, claiming he had the right to make political gestures, and the magistrate's decision would be challenged in a higher court, which is unfortunate because that's going to go nowhere. The legislation is fairly clear, and he breached it. So
unlike some of the stuff we're about to look at. But
Sewell also made sickening anti-Semitic remarks outside the court while carrying his big boy book of Nietzsche that he doesn't understand and never will. Fuck these people. Fuck you, Tom Sewell.
Yeah, no time for this cunt.
Cows have fucking masks on.
Everybody is up for the high jump if they deserve it. If they deserve to hang, they will hang.
Rise up, Australia. Men of Australia, time to step up and be real men. Protect your kids or go down biggest cowards this country has ever seen. Hang that animals.
Listeners, for this week's Cooker Update, we are going retro and looking at rallies.
Ooh.
Yes, the art of protest is neither dead nor resting. The real Cooker protests are still happening weekly in Melbourne, I think at the Governor's Palace at her pleasure, where yelling at buildings across from a river is still cool and normal and has been for like years now. I don't know. I don't really, that's more of a tinfoil tale.
We've lost interest in you.
I don't know what's happening there, but they probably smell. But we are going a little bit mainstream to kick off Cooker Update. To kick off Cooker Update. Good Lord, I can't.
That's better. That sounds better.
I can't read. I suck today. And then moving on to the gossip from the usual idiots bickering over who is the belle of the ball at the park. I was here first. I've got a permit. You can't be here. I made posters. So, a few weeks ago, we saw a pro-Palestine rally featuring a few protesters described as gatecrashers waving a few cheeky Hezbollah flags.
These flags aren't easy to get your hands on. They are quite illegal. It's very clear the law on supply is very, very clear. Although one US-based website had one for $40, I found that one. That's 58 Australian bucks. But they were out of stock. Maybe there'd been a bit of a run on the Hezbollah flag. Have you got a Hezbollah flag? You got something in a green and gold.
Yeah, exactly. It's the national colours.
You got something to bring out my eyes.
If I make a joke about the Olympians and a Hezbollah flag, I will get deported. So I'm not doing it.
You could try and order one from the completely legit-looking insurrectionist boutique.
It's a
for
boutique.
Near $38. That's a big saving. But I wouldn't expect it to arrive. A terrorist and their money are easily parted. Yeah, what are you going to do? Go to the cops and say, I didn't get my terrorist flag.
Yeah, I want to charge back. What's it for? Terrorist flags. Oh, sorry. We'll give you it back. So this led Peter Dutton to randomly demand that the protesters were deported.
Yeah.
Cool.
Get them out. Ship them out.
I expect this from Peter Dutton, but in an unsurprising, at this point, moment of insane bipartisanship and disappointment on my part, Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke, who I thought wasn't a fuckwit for a while, came out with this.
There is a higher level of scrutiny if anyone is on a visa. I have made clear from day one that I will consider refusing and cancelling visas for anyone who seeks to incite discord in Australia. Now, I'm not as scathing in criticism of Burke as you might be, Joe.
Nah.
I think if you're travelling in another country, or you are, I'm thinking of one example, where you are teaching in one country as part of an academic group, just the general rules of courtesy would say, try not to commit crimes in another jurisdiction.
I agree.
Be a good guest.
Agree.
Be a good guest.
I totally agree. And you know what? I totally get that, except for the fact that you don't talk about deporting people until you know their legal status.
I know. That was the thing. And when he was asked, after he made that statement, when Burke was asked if he knew these people were on visas or whether they were Australian residents, he didn't know.
Yeah. So, what the fuck, man? And, it turns out they have made some sort of charge here, and we don't really know what's happening with it. There was something on the bloody,
Well, there was a woman who was identified, young woman,
yeah,
who was identified who actually handed herself in to the police station. She'd been filmed and shown and on news services and things like that. She handed herself in. I don't believe she's been charged.
No, I also don't believe that she's a fucking.
Well, she's an Australian resident.
Visa.
Well, I presume she's an Australian resident on the the bits I read about her.
They haven't mentioned
that's certainly
any visa.
the case, but she went down to the local police station and said, "Put the handcuffs on me," and they said, "Well, we're not sure that we can."
Yeah, it's not happening, mate. Which is, fair fair enough. Like, it sort of is what it is. And we'll flesh that out. But, like, I just find it so embarrassing. And I know you're giving Tony O'Rourke a bit of a free pass on that, but I'm sorry. The response to me, the correct response to that is I will not speak about the visa status of people who I have not identified. That's insane. Because that's insane. It's just, that's fucking cooked. And to me, this is basically eating cats and dogs moment, really. Because, like, the first thing to do when you're at a protest with a few fucking mouthy ethnics there is you start talking about whether they're legally able to be here and nitpicking over their fucking residency. I'm not doing that. Like, that's racist dog whistling and it's fucking stupid. But of course,
it is a form of dog whistling because they're saying, the implication is that the people toting the Hezbollah flags were in fact, fly in, fly outers.
That's right, and that migrants are the problem.
And that may not be the case, and he didn't have that information to hand, so he should have made a more measured statement.
They are our very own ethnics, and we need to keep them, otherwise the kebabs will stop, and that will be World War III. So, I mean, look, failing that, we can at least prosecute them, right? I mean, nah, not quite, because it looks like that's not going to work. You see, the AFP were looking into it, but the threshold on the law is a little bit ambiguous. You see, you need to be a bit offended, but also a little bit incitey. So it starts getting a bit complex when you start adding these caveats.
Go to the origins of this. Look, there's little doubt that the Hezbollah flag is as offensive, or certainly in the same ballpark to Jewish Australians as the public display of the Nazi Hakenkreuz or swastika. But that is not the test for a successful prosecution. That alone is not. It is merely one element. Merely displaying the flag in a public space is not sufficient for an arrest to be made. Police need to go through a veritable laundry list of vague law, in part because our politicians imposed the reasonable person test. The formless everyman sitting on a Bondi tram. I think the UK phrase is the Clapham bus, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be something like that.
Yeah, so we've just Australianised the everyman.
But at least there's still a Clapham bus. I mean, we don't have a fucking Bondi tram anymore, so I guess we're not reasonable anymore. Bondi
tram since about 1954, so
yeah,
it is an oldie.
Gotta love them.
So there's an everyman test to determine if a person waving the Hezbollah flag at a rally is engaged in the, and I quote from the Act now, the dissemination of ideas based on racial superiority or racial hatred, which could incite another person or a group of persons to offend, insult, humiliate, or intimidate. The penalty under the legislation is up to 12 months of imprisonment if you can get before a judge, of course.
Well, yes, you do need to get charged first. But, see, the problem is, unfortunately, the definition of those who can be offended, insulted, humiliated, or intimidated does not apparently include the easily offended conservatives watching a lefty protest on Sky News types, because these quiet Australians, who are both immune to being offended but also keen to jail anyone who upsets them, they're also not very quiet. They're not apparently cutting the mustard when it comes to being offended. It's a damn shame. They should be more offended, and then maybe it'll be illegal.
The SMH reported that a spokesman for the AFP said, the mere public display of a prohibited symbol on its own does not meet the threshold of a Commonwealth offence. She said the symbol had to be displayed in a situation where it was spreading hate, intimidating people, inciting crime, or targeting people based on their race, nationality, or religion, pretty much as I read from the Act.
Yeah, and that's the law, right? So then the Herald consulted the very reasonable, very smart Shadow Home Affairs spokesman, James Patterson, who offered this excellent piece of legal wisdom.
Patterson said Labor ministers needed to make clear to police that they should enforce the laws. It is frankly not good enough for police to wave the white flag less than 24 hours after these incidents occurred and say laying charges is all too hard. They could not have even conducted a preliminary investigation, let alone any interviews to determine whether all elements of the offence have been met. We will only know the law is deficient once it is tested, but if no charges are ever laid, that will never happen.
I can't even start with that.
We're getting too much legal advice from Senator Patterson.
Yeah, it sounds like he's getting his legal advice from fucking Ralph Babet. So, according to Patterson here, we should just charge people, regardless of what the law says, drag people into fluorescent lit rooms, ask them a bunch of questions, meaningless questions because they don't fit the elements anyway, And then we can test them in court when we can just spend a week dismissing the charges. I'm baffled as the discourse around this has been so fucking embarrassing. And like, that's the thing. Like, Patterson isn't much of a law talking guy. I looked him up. I think he got a degree in commerce and shit, whatever. But he's a lawmaker. Like, there is a level
IPA, former IPA guy.
Yeah,
Institute of Public Affairs.
Unsurprising. This piece of legislation itself, though, in Patterson's defense to an extent, is basically like a bit of microwave steak. It was cooked badly, and now it is fucked. You don't put a steak in a microwave, and you don't rush legislation. There are two things that are incredibly important. But the high bar of prosecution was put in place for a reason.
The reason is that the swastika holds religious significance for Hindus, Jains and Buddhists in Australia. But then politicians decided to tack on the symbols of prescribed terrorist organisation in what appears to be an afterthought.
We don't really know why they did this. Like, Labor aren't in a position where they really need to negotiate with a crossbench to get things through the parliament like they have in the past. You know, they've got a bit of, well, not much at least. But who would even want this tacked on? Like, I can't really think of who they'd be buttering up.
Well, we'll get to the chronology in a minute.
Okay.
But just so you know, this bill went through the parliament with bipartisan support.
Yes, okay. And that's why I'm guessing they had to make this concession of, but what about terrorists? And they go, oh, okay, fine, we'll do that. But they would have gone through
at that stage. It wasn't at that stage. We'll get to the chronology anyway.
Yeah, okay.
It wasn't an amendment proposed in the parliament.
Yeah, I figured that while they were drafting legislation, they had a chat with the other side and basically said, is there anything you want?
Yeah, it's
because that's the only thing I can imagine. But, like, why? Like, you can get it through anyway. So I'm guessing maybe it's just Labor, just, you know, having a succulent Chinese meal. And
that is distinctly possible too.
It's distinctly fucking possible.
We can fine it down to just the Attorney General's office.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah, look, in June, so let's get to the chronology. In June last year, Federal Attorney General Mark Dreyfus announced the legislation would ban the display of Nazi symbols in public and online. There is no place in Australia for symbols that glorify the horrors of the Holocaust, Dreyfus said. He's actually an Australian Jew himself.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we will no longer allow people to profit from the display and sale of items which celebrate the Nazis and their evil ideology. And that was met with universal acclaim. But a week later, the bill quietly was changed and took the giant leap from prohibiting the display of Nazi symbols, where a reasonable person is likely to conclude that a Nazi Hakenkreuz is totemic of racial hatred, to symbols of prescribed terrorist groups where that same reasonable person may draw a different conclusion. The motivation of parliamentarians, as I said, full bipartisan support, they're all to blame for this.
Yeah.
Their motivation appears to have been the all too frequent legislative impulse. We need to do something. This is something. So let's do this.
Yeah, let's win the news cycle, basically.
So it's a stunning piece of deliberate disingenuousness from any politician, including Senator Patterson, who voted for the bill to now point accusing fingers at police. Bad laws lead to bad outcomes, with police becoming political punching bags.
Yeah, and the police then look like terrorist sympathisers for not laying down charges because they're following the letter of the law and no arrests are made. And you've got all these fucking right-wing types who are being like, oh, fucking police just soft on Palestinian protesters. No, they're not, really. So, yeah. Look, but unfortunately, as police become political punching bags, we have all been subjected to a dick-measuring contest about who is more offended by the Hezbollah flag. Dutton put in a very powerful performance saying this.
There is an absolute outrage in relation to the glorification of a terrorist leader, which surely must be against the Australian law. Surely it is. I voted for it. I can't remember it now, but surely.
Don't call me Shirley.
It must be against the Australian. And if it's not, the Parliament should be recalled to pass a law that prohibits that from happening.
Uh-huh.
The idea, just to break away just for a minute, the idea that holding a photograph or a portrait of Nasrallah, the former head of Hezbollah, now deceased, would trigger this legislation, as we've read it out to you folks. It's just bizarre to me.
I think it's weird. Yeah.
There's no way you could be arrested for that.
I find
no way
strange.
You could be arrested for that, for holding up the image of a fellow that the reasonable man on the Bondi tram is going to look at and go,
I don't know who that guy is.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. I really wouldn't know myself, to be honest. And I'm kind of like, I'm engaged in this sort of stuff. I'd be like,
well, you've seen one member of Hezbollah. You've probably seen them all,
Yeah, it's a bit like that. The beard
dark
sort
hair,
of obscures
that sort of thing.
Yeah, old, if they get that far. But look, I just think that we're missing the point here, which is that, like, of the usual suspects in the alphabet agencies are going to be pouring through footage to find out who these people are, and then we'll probably keep a close eye on them. And they won't let them know. They'll just keep an eye on them. And if anything, that's kind of useful. I mean, thanks, guys. Like, if you guys are actual terrorist sympathizers who do have some kind of death to the West mindset, well, now you've just given yourself a fucking digital ankle bracelet.
It's not like, I mean, this is the other thing. I mean, Dutton's a former police officer. He should know better.
Yeah.
But what is being asked of police with all this outrage about police not acting and all this sort of stuff? Let's just push the legislation and its awfulness to one side. But what these politicians are suggesting, and I wrote about this in the Oz last week, commenters came in and said, if the police see the law being broken, they should just arrest someone immediately. And you go, well, not really. What they have to do is assess, make on-the-run assessments about public safety, and they've got to make, and because it's the most important area, they've got to make a judgment about their own safety, about the safety of police.
Yeah.
So the idea that you would wade into a fairly volatile situation, you see public order offences in protests all the time.
Of course.
So the idea that you would just start wading in and arresting people, these things can easily turn into riots, and that, the mob, let's say, is provoked, and police are smarter than that.
Yeah.
And we remember when the Christian Baptist, a self-appointed Baptist in Western Sydney, was stabbed.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there was a response from the community there that included, sort of really bad behaviour, smashing up police cars and setting fire to things and threatening to go into buildings and tearing people apart and all that sort of stuff.
It was pretty
the
intense.
Police filmed them, sat back, filmed them, and then made all the arrests the following in the ensuing days.
And that didn't stop them from being injured at the time. What it did is it stopped further injuries from happening.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's
exactly right. There were a number of police officers injured. You're absolutely right, Joe. So these things are very important. I mean, at any given time in any state police force around this country, there are as many as a quarter of police on leave because they've been assaulted or they're suffering PTSD or, let's go a bit easy on these guys, shall we?
It's a shit job and someone's got to do it. And we can argue the lengths of all sorts of ACAB sort of shit. I would find it very difficult to arrest a, kid in the western suburbs with a bag of weed. I'd find it very difficult to, go along with that law and, or strip search a kid going to a music festival. I get it, and that's fine. But when it comes down to it, like the first person I'm calling is the cops if my house gets broken into.
Police is law enforcement. It's always going to be imperfect. It's always going to be imperfect. And I just think police in the front rows of these sorts of volatile situations there should be a reasonable expectation in the community, but certainly from our political leadership, that they shouldn't put themselves in harm's way
needlessly
to satisfy a few bleating politicians.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. Yeah, when it comes to the idea of causing shit at a rally for the sake of someone being offended, one thing they could have done, which they maybe did, is if I was a cop in that situation and I felt that way inclined, I might go and then be like, look, you might be committing an offence. You might make it less of a problem if you just put it away. Up to you, mate. Yeah. Up to you. But look, I mean, it's not even their job to do that. But at the same time, you'd be sitting there thinking, oh, guys, you're going to get so arrested. And you might be wrong. And they were wrong. But, like, in that regard, I can see some merit in that. But you wouldn't go in there and just start putting on handcuffs and saying, you've shown an old man's portrait, come with me. It's silly and it's counterproductive.
The other thing is, besides all that operational stuff and public safety and police safety, police have to be satisfied that an offence has occurred.
Yeah, and if they don't, they'll end up in a fucking courtroom with Monica Smith.
Under this, kill two birds with one stone and miss both of them.
Yeah,
legislation, you no police officer could honestly say that the law had been broken.
And there's a possibility they were actually aware of this situation in advance with a police briefing that involved the elements of this crime, just in case there were symbols that were, contrary to this law. So, I mean...
Well, the AFP had already spoken, certainly for the long weekend rallies, and there were Hezbollah flags there. There were Hezbollah flags with Ned Kelly on them.
Fuck off.
I don't know how you get that made up. Maybe that was just sitting in the closet from last time.
That's so fucking cringe.
But, the AFP had already spoken. And so Patterson, who I actually bumped into in the Parliament today, Patterson he's looking at me going, do I know that guy? Do I know? I said hello to him. Oh, do I know that guy? Do I know that? Yeah, I'm the one who kicked the shit out of you in the Australian, you idiot. You voted for this law knowing that it was inadequate. And when you were asked about it, you said it was perfectly adequate, or if it's not, let's just charge someone anyway and see how it goes.
It's pretty embarrassing. So, look, I probably have to say this more than you, but I just want to put the little disclaimer that, yes, flying the Hezbollah flag was a massively stupid thing to do. Turning up to a fucking protest with that is not helping Palestinians in any way, shape, or form. All you're doing is giving Dutton fucking media points. Condemning that's a fucking no-brainer. I'd still think the reaction to this as some sort of national tragedy is a complete farce. Yeah. Like, a friend of mine went to the protest, and I was talking to her before all this hubbub happened, because it was just after the protest, and basically just saying, look, the protest was really good, but she saw the flag and it was a bit awkward. And that's sort of where it could start and stop. Without this national campaign of sadness, it's just awkward. It's just a few dickheads turning up, showing off their terrorist merch they bought from the fucking insurrectionist boutique. And, compared to Nazis who are actually actively trying to red pill normies, they're going through channels like Pete fucking Evans. These dickheads are probably just annoying tankies with a cool little flag who wanted to be the most interesting people on the day, and they turned out to be, as usual, wrong and annoying because they live in echo chambers full of fucking weird dickheads who think Stalin's cool. So look, if not, and they are a problem, wait, they've got the attention of the feds now. So any silly plans they might have had involving pressure cookers and explosives are now going to be highly scrutinized by a team of people who were previously slightly bored looking at Nazis. So fuck you, right? Like, you dug your own hole.
Look, since the UK riots, Joel, the riots over that were incited by the stabbing of 3 young girls and the incorrect. It was a lovely bit of work from the BBC, actually, of how they chased one of the inciters to Finland.
Oh, wow.
Who was actually an immigrant, a brown immigrant, of all people, who had fallen in love with Nazism. A lovely piece of journalism because they fronted him, and he was screaming for the police and saying he was being harassed and all this sort of stuff. Isn't that great? Anyway, what from the protesters throughout England, certainly around the Liverpool area and in the northeast, they now, all the police have got them on facial recognition technology. Yeah. They know who they are. They know where they live. Yeah. You can arrest them at any time.
Yeah. That's the nature of it. So, look, basically bipartisan dog whistling at deportations from Dutton and Burke. You've got this genius suggestion we just arrest people regardless of whether they've committed an actual crime or not from fucking young Patterson from the IPA. That's baffling to me. I mean, these people are parliamentarians, and honestly, this has been a sad season for politics. Do they think? Like, just think before you speak. Like, this is just insane. I'm giving the crown to Dutton, even though it's just by a whisker, because Patterson sounds really dumb, who wants to recall Parliament for an emergency sitting over being upset about a flag and then threatening to deport people whose visa status remains unknown. It's just some of the dumbest shit I've heard in some time. I mean, where are your fucking priorities, guys? This is just fucking embarrassing.
Well, what was even more embarrassing was that the person who's from the federal parliament who spoke most persuasively and sensibly about this was Matt Canavan, who said, look, perhaps we're getting a little bit hung up on symbols here, and perhaps we need to look at what's behind the symbolism, why people are going to protest, all this sort of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so the email address is the conditional release program @gmail.com. If you'd like to send any feedback, we are always welcoming it.
For sure.
Fucking backhat.
And while we are looking at Lefty's protesting, and we have another rally.
Ooh.
It's spring.
Yeah.
Spring has sprung, and everyone's out in the streets.
Not springtime for Hitler, though.
This one was the protest to disrupt land forces. What?
You know this,
Land
don't
Forces is a conference held annually in Melbourne to showcase our fine ability to manufacture weapons of war and make a few arms deals to keep the punters gainfully employed, making bushmasters and rocket systems. We also make a lot of munitions, Joel.
Yes.
So, actual rounds for actual
Which is
guns.
good because there was a time when we didn't have enough rounds to shoot the amount of Indonesians who were going to attack us if they decided to.
Big plant out Altona way, I think. Been there for years.
Toyota to turrets, the career pipeline for locals in the area. Look, I've shot a few guns, whatever. So Tom Taneke did an excellent video on the protest, which saw a level of police brutality that made the pandemic protest look like a bit of a fun fair with a bit of fairy floss. But since Cook has learned what OC pepper spray tastes like during the pandemic, they have made the fight against police brutality, especially in Victoria, a bit of a crusade of theirs. It's a bit of a passion project. And they're also very anti-war. So you can see how this is all lining up, except for the fact they're anti-war insofar as they want Ukraine to surrender to Russia.
Surrender and be destroyed. Yeah.
Their brains being melted by Rumble videos. So it was no surprise to see prominent cookers coming to the defense of the protesters who saw the police violence and just straight up on social media condemned it in no uncertain terms. And, of course, most of our astute listeners would realise that I'm fucking kidding. No, they applauded the use of police violence because, of course, they did.
A little slow on the uptake there.
Fucking lefties, mate. Bash them over the head, which I've been guilty of before, but at least I'm fucking admit it. These guys are so not self-aware.
There is a bit of a problem with the Victoria Police Force, isn't there?
Always has been. They used to shoot people. Now they've got OC spray and they're happy with that.
Well, my old mate Dennis Ryan, who my listeners will know of, a former detective who came a cropper when he tried to charge a pedophile priest.
Yeah.
He said he would always say the Victoria Police Force is a paramilitary organisation. He said, and he thinks, well, in his view, that is unlike any other police force in Australia.
Yeah, I would agree with that because you never see scenes like you do in Victoria, even in New South Wales, which is pretty.
So yeah, gross. I would be more inclined to look at it as a cultural issue.
I would too. But here's a quote from Telegram showing how much they love seeing lefties get bashed.
Activist Greens hypocrisy. Chaos and anarchy from buffoons and drongos threaten the core basis of Aussie society. I just love it when they abbreviate Australia. Anti-war protest degenerates into an outright attack upon police and police horses, while divisive Greens support the madness.
Oh, shock, horror.
No Aussie protests against murderous regimes in Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Northern and Western Africa.
What?
That's very specific, isn't it?
It's weird.
Northern Africa, what are we talking about there? Just countries that
I don't know
sound made up, like Morocco and Algeria, and
they sound bad.
Yeah, they sound made up
and scary and foreign.
Northern and Western Africa, Somalia, which is Eastern Africa, they managed to get that in there. Armenia, what?
I don't know.
Turkey or Yemen? I think the Armenians have got a bit of a slagging there. Been thrown in with Somalia.
And Turkey. Why are they?
Which is actually now Turkey.
Yeah, well,
someone should actually say to him, come on, mate, that's not the way it's done.
You'll get cancelled.
The US State Department insists that you spell it Turkiye.
Really? Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Great country.
Protesting against, I'll read the whole sentence again, listeners. No Aussie protests against murderous regimes in Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Northern and Western Africa, Somalia, Armenia, Turkey or Yemen, but protesting anything anti-Israel is somehow okay. That is real hypocrisy. It's the worst thing you can be is a hypocrite.
Worse.
We warned. We just put the caps lock on here, folks, by the way, so I'll start shouting this. We warned that anti-Semitism being allowed on uni campuses, on the streets and online in Australia would have serious consequences. Well, the anarchy in Melbourne may be only a preview of what's, no comma, no apostrophe, to come next. The only, in inverted commas, cure is arrests, fines and jail time for those violently involved in these actions. It's the only thing they'll understand. It's the only message they seem to have learned so
the
far.
only language they speak is violence.
Is that the more they act out, the less seems to happen. Police have a choice. Do not allow these actions or suffer far worse in the future. Change is required now or chaos wins.
I love that last line.
Where did that come from?
It's just a shitty Patriot Telegram group. I really liked it, though. Like, basically, I think they were saying basically the same people who protest land forces and try to disrupt it are the same ones who turn up to Palestine rallies. And if you have a situation where the supporters of both causes are allowed to run rampant across Melbourne, well, you know what happens? Chaos wins. That's what happens.
Chaos is the winner.
There was a certain level of Hassant-esque poetry to that post that I really liked that I just wanted to include in the episode because it was
not big
really
on geography, though.
What did Turkey do?
Why would we be protesting about Armenia? Who's hitting the streets for Armenia in Melbourne or Sydney?
I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, sure, like the Armenian genocide being recognised is a hot topic between ethnic groups down there, I guess, if you want to get real fucking weird about it. Anyway, this wasn't meant to be smart. So, look, I just want to bring up, I don't know what the world has come to. Anti-war protesters taking to the streets to show resistance to the manufacture of weapons designed to kill and maim, the military-industrial complex. What next? Books in the library? Water in bubblers? I mean, these war-hating drongos must be stopped before they start a whole peacenik movement. But anyway, the point of that was just to remind you that all the perpetual whinging at police brutality from cookers who are still fixated on the pandemic as if it happened last week, and the only time they ever felt something in their lives, they just want to keep living forever. They are
felt something. I don't know what it is, but they felt something.
A baton and cat's going to spray properly. But they're just full of shit and they're hypocritical fuckbags, and that should be remembered at all times. As I said before, I gave into my lesser qualities during the pandemic. I found myself cheerleading for VicPol stormtroopers a little bit when they were laying into groups of annoying cookers who were being annoying in my defense.
It's kind of fun to watch.
At least I felt conflicted about it. These basic bitches have an on or off switch ideologically. Yeah. There's no fucking nuance. There's no nuance.
Well, at least we have the integrity to say we believe there's a problem with Victoria Police, and we've been saying that for a long time.
Yes, and they said there was a problem
in terms of its, shall we say, crowd control management.
Yes, they should probably calm down a touch. And look, I have to give credit where credit's due. Not all of them. I did find one voice I could find in defiance of this, condemning VicPol for their behaviour at land forces, and that was Andy fucking Knowles. Remember him? The guy who drew a dick on Eustace Dixon's... Yeah, so okay. I'm sorry, but nobody gives a fuck what he thinks. He's a misogynistic incel cunt and Nazi. So, no, I go back to it.
Well, he was courted by Nazis.
Well, yeah, he's been brainwashed by about 6 different groups because he's fucking easy. He's a bad person. So now, we move on to more cook-related rally matters. Oh, my God, there's too many. And this is the blatantly obvious campaign rally for the New South Wales Libertarian Party under the guise of a Save Free Speech rally at the Speaker's Corner in Sydney. And it had a dramatic clash of cookers with a parallel protest being held by the likes of the Aussie Cossack, Como John, and assorted ferals, having their own little protest gathering within earshot of the heavily branded, planned and funded event.
They can't leave each other alone, can they?
No, they can't. But the problem here, you don't understand the problem here. These guys, Aussie Cossack and Como John, did this without permits or anything. Jack, that's illegal.
Well, I'm presuming the Cossack didn't emerge from the Russian consulate in
No, but he was there in spirit.
He was there in spirit,
pulling all the strings of his fucking puppets.
He would be arrested and off to jail.
He would. But now, look, I know what you're saying here. It's a little bit weird that libertarians, of all people, would be upset about whether people have permits from the government or not to make their little protest legal. Does that feel...
That does seem strange.
Does that feel... Yeah. But let's not get caught in the hilariously... sort of, that hilarious detail there, because let's just move on to the drama, okay?
Look, it goes without saying that a lot of this has been taken from the Tinfoil Tales Twitter account. While the podcast is resting, the girls are not idle. They are still posting Cooker News to the Patreon mailing list, so if you want to get all the gossip, sign up to Tinfoil Tales, because it's absolutely worth your time.
It absolutely fucking is. It's great. They do mail-outs pretty regularly. It's good. Now, so the rally against misinformation, disinformation, blah, blah, blah. It's one of the first events that saw the newly minted libertarian Crackers Kelly rolled out to dazzle the crowd with his sparkling personality and charisma. See, Crackers changes political parties more often than Bill Shorten changes AFL teams, and he arose suspicion.
He's been in more parties than Paris Hilton.
Yes, that's good. That's way better than my Shorten line. And he arose suspicion when he changed his Twitter handle from @CraigKellyFon, as in, Pauline Hanson, One Nation, to Craig Kelly XXX. Oh, he's a man of mystery.
I thought he was going into the adult entertainment business.
Oh, again, because, this did immediately catch the eye of anyone with half a brain and Twitter account.
That's putting a lot of people, just the very idea of that is putting a lot of people into therapy.
His pea-sized penis protruding from his large belly. Anyway, I'll leave that with you. So, this might not have been the best move for a guy who recently retweeted incest-themed foot fetish porn to then change his Twitter handle to XXX. I'm not alone in this.
It's very niche, isn't it?
I'm not the only person thinking this. All right?
Incest-themed foot porn.
It really was. I watched the fucking 20-minute clip and I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, they're related. Oh, good. Okay. Oh, and there's the feet. Okay.
Ooh.
This is great. Thanks,
and that's
Crackers.
a money shot on the feet?
I think it was.
Yeah.
It was a while ago now. I haven't watched it twice.
Yeah,
now,
it's not sort of popping up on your YouTube cookie.
It probably
list.
has fucked my algorithm, though. No pun intended. So, look, despite this obvious little thing here, Crackers has kept the change. Probably because he doesn't actually know how to change it back.
Yeah.
Famously, he didn't know how to unretweet the porn video, and he left it there for 48 hours or something. But look, maybe he was hacked. And that's why
he was hacked
now.
Every time he's ever made a mistake in his life, and there are so many, he's been hacked.
Just hackers. And I think the AFP shouldn't look into it because they're busy. They're busy and they've got other things to do, so let's not. Fuck.
Yeah, look, John Ruddock and his usual libertarian stalwarts, I call him the pink shirts. But anyway, we're on the lineup alongside the member for Manila himself, Georgie Christensen. God, it's good to see him back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where's he been? He's just been hopping in, just fresh from Manila, was he?
I'm guessing so. It's probably keeping his cost of living down.
And the walking set of eyebrows, Joel Jamal, also there, who has been poking around behind the scenes of the recent New South Wales council elections to help cookers take over local governments. Oh, he's such a smart guy.
Great.
The timing of the event was interesting as it coincided with the AFL Grand Final. Sydney was playing, although by half-time it didn't matter much.
No.
But that didn't start until 2:30. So, look, it's just a really dumb idea. It'd be like saying, hey, let's hold an auction. I'll sell my house and hold the auction on AFL Grand Final Day.
Or like Christmas Day. Oh, yeah, we'll just see what happens. Maybe people will turn up because they're bored.
I mean, a lot of houses are sold in spring, of course, but not on footy finals days, guys.
Even I cared about sitting in the grand final.
Anyway, one Twitter post said of the event, thousands here, people are angry. I'm suggesting one sentence is correct, the other one's not.
Yeah, he was angry, not thousands.
There were not thousands of people, of course. But with cooker mass considered, it looks like a few hundred.
Yeah.
Still with 0.0064% of the New South Wales electorate in attendance, the rally was underway with riveting speeches from the cooker-adjacent libertarians.
Yeah, so John Ruddock had a really great little speech there where he said, quote, "We are on the slow journey to East Germany," which I don't know, is he taking a fucking train? Just fly over, bro.
It's kind of nice. I mean, what's he, he's sort of suggesting that his audience will understand about the split in Germany post World War II.
I think he's probably asking a lot.
It's asking a lot. Really,
at some point, it'd just be like, look, they were communists and it was bad. And everyone goes, oh, boo, yeah, fuck communism. So they also did a symbolic thing where they set fire to some printed paper, which I'm assuming is a copy of the draft bill. It could have just been random paper from John's office.
It's just paper.
And Topher Field tweeted this.
Oh. A smoking ceremony I can support as at Craig Kelly XXX and John Ruddock too, because there's already a John Ruddock on Twitter.
I love that.
It's sad. You're a sad man, John. Anyway, he said, as Craig Kelly and John Ruddock team up to burn Elbow MP, Miss Dis Bill.
Yeah.
I know they're going to be saying that.
He doesn't even need to abbreviate it. He's got a blue tick. Anyway, look, this is just that, like, edgy shit. Oh, welcome to countries are fucked. Smoking ceremony. The only smoking ceremony I like is at Bathurst. Yeah, sick. So, highlights included crackers reading a letter on behalf of Alan Jones, a man who is well known for his letter writing.
And some other things, but we'll move on. For those who need a moment, a man who just changed his Twitter handle to a XXX, maybe he's going down the wrestling route, Joel.
No, the Penthouse Forum route by the sounds of things.
A man who's changed his Twitter handle to a XXX suffix is reading a letter from a man known for sending love letters to schoolboys. As Hoodie and Lata would say, you just can't make this stuff up.
No, you really can't. I would not read a letter from... There's something about a letter from Alan Jones just gives me red flags. Just don't read it. It just reminds everyone of football days. Not good football days, bad football days. That was a bad football day, to be fair. It was a terrible football day. Anyway, so also on the bill was a fresh libertarian Victorian Senate prospect, Jordan Ditloff, who, according to his Twitter profile, is a law graduate because you can't get admitted, ex-offender and rehabilitant. That's a word, apparently. It's not on spell check. To his credit, he's not hiding his past here. He has served his time, 2 years in jail, and he claims that he will repay his victims over time.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
He's trying to get this done with a taxpayer-funded salary. The true libertarian flex, right?
Let's go into this man's crimes, Joel. I demand to hear it.
So Ditloff is the former president of the Young Liberals who operated a travel agency in Victoria which stole $277,994 casual dollars from 47 clients to fund his drug habit. That's a lot of drugs, including $30,000 from a scout troop and nearly $7,000 from his then fiance's mother, who had saved up for her trip of a lifetime by sewing and knitting. This is comic book levels of evil. I mean, who fucking does that? He recently described federal politicians as stealing, and the journo was like, yeah, are you sure you want to use that expression?
Stealing. You've got a conviction for stealing over $250,000.
Nana's sewing
from little
money.
kitties and Nana.
Yeah, not great. So look, I don't know if this is actually a tale of redemption or just that sort of bizarre practice of right-wing political movements is welcoming terrible people into their midst. It's like Jamie McIntyre, like just scumbags just join and everyone just goes, you say things that I like. I don't care that you're a fucking career con man. I trust you with my investments. Everything will be fine. Time will tell. We'll see. But enough of that. Look, it's time for some cookie infighting, as promised, because as John Ruddock has been courting the cookers as a potential source of electoral power, and it may very well work out for him, let's see, I and many others have warned him that you simply cannot herd cooker cats when it comes to the cooker vote. Many have tried before, and many have failed. This is likely to be a doomed enterprise because you can't herd cats, and yet he continues to recruit people like Craig Kelly to prop up his clout with far-right extremists and delusional fantasists. You can't capture these people.
A Tinfoil Tales posted to their Twitter feed a video of Craig Kelly approaching the parallel rally, claiming that they were there illegally. And that anyone could have done what they are doing, but they were welcome over with the yellow shirts.
Yeah, you call them pink shirts. I call them yellow shirts because they're yellow. The party is yellow.
I'm suggesting something else. But anyway, He even claimed to have been in close contact with Simeon Boykov, the Cossack, who was also behind the competing event.
Imagine organising with him. But it was very funny. The video is great. It's worth a watch where Craig's there going, you don't have a permit. No permit. It's illegal. You can't do this. No, you're a fucking libertarian, mate.
Not much of a libertarian, is he?
Oh, he's still getting used to it.
Work on that.
He's still XXX, and I guess porn industry is big on permits. Who knows? So in the video, Commo John rather passionately accuses Kelly of setting the cops on them. But I can't see any cops in the video footage, so I have no idea how that works. We'll take his word for it. Commo John seems like a nice guy.
He's a delusional fantasist of the highest order.
He may have been hallucinating, yes. The argument goes along the lines of sort of these passive, aggressive invitations to join each other's rallies. It's like, oh, why don't your speakers come here and fucking talk? It's like, well, I've got the fucking stage. Go, we've got the permit. You come and talk to us. And apparently they did actually do that. They just like sort of melded, which is weird and sad.
So there was love eventually.
Yeah, kind of.
Kelly goes on to say that they only have one chance, and that it's Commo John's fault if the disinfo bill passes. It's your fault, Commo John.
Your fault.
It will be your fault. It's quite a claim. I think the bill's not going to get up. I don't even think it'll be presented to the Parliament. It may well be, but I don't. and perhaps we talk about this in another episode. I'm not entirely sure that this is going to be a stunning piece of legislation either. But anyway.
It's a very hard one to get right. And if you don't get it right,
it's
don't
almost
pass it.
impossible. And it's almost something that you'd sort of leave well enough alone and just try and teach people, try and educate people on how to pick disinformation.
But like, look at the fucking states. You know, like their information is now something people are getting hurricane relief.
For this anyway. I mean,
Mental.
if you look at, presidential election, for example, you're looking at something where people openly just, Donald Trump saying that FEMA had funds stripped of it, so it couldn't support people who had been rendered homeless or
it's all going
had
to
their
the border,
homes destroyed, all this sort of stuff, and everyone just sort of went, "Oh, yeah, that's just Donald Trump."
But some people are apparently some people aren't applying for hurricane aid because they don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I know. So that's
insane.
This is why I mean, it's really damaging. But it's like they've moved on. We are in a post-truth era.
But can we fix it? I don't know.
I don't think we can fix it by legislation. But that's another discussion for another time, because we are dealing with the insane group of the Libertarian Party here. Kelly goes on to say that it's Commo John's fault, him alone. Crackers is just not their best fighter, is he?
No.
I think he might be looking for a new party soon. He then went on to threaten Commo John with a lawsuit. What for? Defo.
Classic.
How many times has Crackers threatened to sue people?
Oh, man. Like, there was that article that those academics wrote that he was threatening to sue for.
Yeah, still waiting for the writ there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he sent the concerns notice and they just went, okay, cool, come back with the rest, and that's a bigger process. But, yeah.
Well, Crackers apparently was called a pedophile protector by Commo John.
Ooh, that's problematic.
And, yeah, it'd be a great court case. I'd pay good money to go and watch it. But
fucking right.
Yeah, and apparently it was on film. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Crackers might be moving into Commo John's house pretty soon.
I'm pretty sure Commo John lives on a boat, but that's just by the by. I just want to really make note of the irony of threatening defamation at a Save Free Speech rally. I mean, we've already had the permits thing, but now we're doing defo at a Save Free Speech rally. I can't. I mean,
because he's just the gift that keeps on giving, isn't he?
Isn't he great? I don't know when he'll be in his depth.
He's just an A-grade moron.
He really
Come and sue us, Crackers.
Yeah, well,
and sue us. We'll take your concerns notice and we'll come around to your house and we'll stick it up your ass.
Imagine the court case where we're doing a truth defense on him being a moron. Now, Crackers, we're going to put you through a test, all right? Now, put the peg in the hole that is shaped.
The disclosure stuff would be just fascinating.
Oh,
you'd want all his school reports.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever been. He didn't actually attend any tertiary education.
As someone who got 33.6 in his UAI, I might be casting stones. I did okay at UCID, though. Anyway, so look, I did find that very funny, but the problem here, there's a real legal issue here, and I put my legal thinking cap on, and I was like, hold on a second. You see, John didn't actually say it. Someone else did.
Oh, someone else did. So, but John was there, so he can be defoed.
Exactly. See, I haven't actually studied defamation yet, so I'm totally behind the eight ball, but Crackers knows his shit. Apparently, he's suing John for defending the man who called him a pedophile protector.
Yeah.
Is that how defo works?
I think we could start a clock right now on the number of days before Commo John gets his concerns notice, and I think we'll get into the thousands and probably lose interest.
I think we will. I think we absolutely will. But what I am going to do is I'm going to send in a little suggestion to one of my law lecturers over time and say, here, I just want to run this past you as a scenario. Is this actionable? And then I'm going to proudly fail the course because it's some of the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard in my fucking life.
You can't sue someone defamation by proxy.
No, and he wasn't even filming, so he's not even a publisher. Anyway, fucking moron.
Anyway,
so I thought it was pretty funny. As the fellow filming said, what a mess. Yeah, it was a real mess. And the great thing was that Crackers rocks up to this group of ferals and made Como John seem the sane, reasonable guy of the group. How the fuck do you pull that off? Mate, you just really have killed it. So Crackers, he lashed out after the event on social media. Not a surprise coming from a man who's basically chose shitposting over a career in federal parliament.
He did. He
really did. He was like, you know what?
He did map out
being
his
an MP
pathway, didn't he?
I don't have to actually do anything, but I tell you what I really like, posting nonsense. So then we had the Cossack who released a 2-hour video with Como John featuring attacks on Kelly. They're all very upset with each other. And I'm not going to go into the cooker dynamics, but there's plenty of them. Other people are involved. They're all doing the battle line.
Well, the Cossack threatened to sue me 18 months ago.
Yeah, still waiting.
Still got that.
Still waiting.
Court, still not recipient of that concerns notice.
Yeah, that may or may not happen.
You're going to have to come to the federal court, Cossack. You're going to have to leave your stinky body odor redolent fucking shithole in Wallara.
Loose armpit, yeah.
And come into the federal court, buddy.
Yeah.
You first. You fat fuck.
The great thing about this is it all comes from John Ruddock starting shit because he wants cookers to vote for him.
He's completely out of his depth.
I think he might get another term, to be honest. I reckon he might.
He might. I mean, Mark Latham might.
Yeah.
He's a lot poorer than he used to be.
That's true. Alex Greenwich.
He did
buying some new shoes. Yeah.
Look, Guru was meant to show up, but didn't. It's probably the Spanish. But he sent his blessings, so that's nice.
Did he? Yeah, he said it through.
Spotted next to the stage at Como John rally. At the Como John rally was a sign that says "Stop anal pox and Wong flu."
Good.
It's lovely.
Yeah, isn't that nice? That's really lovely.
Well, I'm presuming that's someone who's had anal pox and just said, like, I really don't want it again.
Yeah, no, it's no good. It's no good. 1 out of 5 stars tops. 0.5 even. No
sort of
good.
Gives you an idea of just the sort of people that will align themselves with Como John anyway.
It made my incest foot porn much less pleasant to watch. So, finally in rally news, and God, this has gone on for a while, but we can get through this. This blatantly pro-Russia and anti-Ukraine American raids against the War Machine rally saw very big-name headliners speaking to an almost empty venue in Washington, D.C. Well, there was a couple of them. One of them had more names than others. And here's the list of demands from the so-called anti-war coalition. It's good.
Not one more penny for wars in Ukraine or Gaza. Negotiate peace. You would think that would come first. But anyway.
You'd think so.
What do I know?
No.
Stop the war inflation.
Okay.
What?
Don't know.
Disband NATO. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's good.
Global nuclear de-escalation.
You first, cunt. You first.
Slash the Pentagon budget.
Okay.
Abolish the CIA and military-industrial deep state.
Okay.
I don't know what's abolish Boeing. I mean, what are we going to do there?
Are we going to do that?
How many planes, you fucking idiots? Anyway, abolish war and empire. That's broad. That's
very broad. Yeah.
What would we say? Are there any sort of existing empires at the moment? I mean, not really.
Russia?
Really.
They're trying.
Not really. I mean,
they're doing some Lebensraum,
but it's not. There is an attempt, I suppose.
Yeah.
Through Georgia and obviously Ukraine.
Yeah.
Restore civil liberties.
Okay. Cool.
And pardon Julian Assange.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of Julian Assange these days, but would he be anywhere near these people? Would he have anything? I suppose he'd probably tick a few boxes on that long list of idiocy that I just read out.
Well, I think that might have been a concession because one of the speakers list was Gabriel Shipton, which is half-brother of Julian Assange. So I'm guessing that was just tacked on the end because he asked it to be.
Yeah.
He was basically the biggest
Can
name
you mention my brother? Otherwise people won't know who I am.
Yeah, exactly. And then Max Blumenthal, who actually did apparently have a career, but then just decided to do the Craig Kelly and start shitposting instead.
Yeah, it's much more fun.
Good work. Most of the sponsors are libertarian groups in the US, which is kind of strange considering that Russia isn't really a libertarian utopia, really.
They don't like libertarians. It's a good jailing for them.
Yeah, I don't really get the mind. Anyway, I guess they're probably just getting paid rubles for that.
Well, so one of the things the Russians have done, they've actually called for people to come and live in Russia. If you hate neoliberalism, come and live in Russia. So it's become a bit of a sort of a klaxon call. The country, that is, the Russian Federation, has become a bit of a klaxon call for, shall we say, deranged conservatives.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's actually taken up the offer. I'd love to see it, but I do love the idea of neoliberalism. Let's just take away all the good stuff and leave the capitalism.
Who's that hideous actor who basically fled to Russia? You know, the martial arts.
Steven Seagal. Yeah, no, he's deep.
Yeah, he's here. Yeah, but he's just avoiding the sex charges. That's all.
Really?
He's there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very unpleasant human being.
Interesting. I would like to hear about that. Well, speaking of sex charges, we have some other people involved because the next day, in the same place, suspiciously enough, was the much higher profile Rescue the Republic rally. This was headlined by RFK Jr. and Steven Seagal wannabe Russell Brand. And by that I mean sex pest. And also Jordan Peterson and Tulsi Gabbard, who is a Democrat, won't you know? She's not, though. She's a cult member and a creep. So it also featured Rob Schneider, who we spoke about.
He would have done the warm-ups, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Try the veal.
Really funny. There was also a man named Skillet. I don't know what Skillet is, but I don't want to listen to them. Anyway, look, the list of speakers was too long to really bother with. It's a mixed list of A-list anti-vaxxers and far-right lunatics. There was like the Malones and all that stuff. It's a pretty fucking crazy thing. I was looking at the lineup thinking you could pull a pretty decent crowd. Now, it didn't, though. It's in Washington, D.C., which is mostly Democrats, and I don't know what the fuck any of this was meant to do. But they said 25,000 people attended. I would say a few thousand, really, tops. It was not much.
It was an indoor venue.
No, it was outdoor.
Was it? Oh, it looked indoor. I mean, I saw some of the clips. I saw, you keep going.
If you'd seen the stage, then yeah, there was just like a big stage, blah, blah, blah. But no, it was a big outdoor arena. Russell Brand prayed for the January 6ers with Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, that's the bit I saw. They both sat head bowed with while they read the Lord's Prayer. I did see Rusty Brand on X quoting from Genesis, the very first book of the Old Testament, the very first book of the Bible. And it did make me think that maybe Russell Brand's conversion, has got a way to go. He's actually looked at the Bible.
Got through the first chapter.
Gone, gee, the writing's really small.
It's very
There's a lot of pages here. It's not the 116-page piece of shit that I used to bung out. This is actually, and he's actually only got as far as Genesis.
Yes, I would imagine that's giving him the benefit of the fucking doubt.
Conversion to Christianity.
Yeah, but what he did do is he went out and did some baptisms in a lake wearing
saw that too, yeah.
white underwear, which were going to be trans-fucking-lucent the moment he went into that water. And if you tell me that wasn't intentional, I will remind you that Russell Brand is a sex pest. Anyway, so the event was prominently sponsored by Make America Healthy Again, which is RFK Jr.'s weird attempt to have a normal-sounding children's health defense. And it sounds good. Make America Healthy Again. Cool, let's do that. Okay, what, by denying medicine? Okay, cool. Yeah. So it was just, it's weird.
Increasing childhood mortality.
Exactly.
That's how you get it more healthy.
Well, yeah, you kill off the sick ones, then they're more healthy. Duh. By aggregate, it's all about averages. So nobody really went. Feels more like the sort of decline of the alt-right than solidifying of the movement, which I proudly embrace. This is beautiful. But will we see more right-wing rallies is the question, and I will say yes, especially with fucking people like Ruddock trying to gain cheap clout from gullible cookers who just love a day out in the park because, well, their families know I'm talking to them, so they've got a free calendar. But with Trump about to lose the US election, mark my fucking words, he will. The desperate smell of death in thinking that Russell Brand is a draw card for audiences may well be a needed sign. The far right is about to die a quick death
after living in the States if Trump does win. He'll be living in the States, mate.
Man.
And hoping like fuck Trump will pardon him by some cross-jurisdictional measure.
Yep, just like citizenship, pardon, problem solved. Elon Musk is banking on similar things. It's all really disgusting. But of course, the problem is if Trump does get elected, Rusty, Elon, they all win, and we'll have this shit happening every month. They'll be doing baptisms on stage, but like instead of the baptism being in water, it'll be like Gatorade. It's going to be fucking dire if he wins. I can't even picture the levels of fringe we're going to get to. Ugh.
We fired you, we sacked you, we dismissed you as what? As garbage, because that's all you are. You're a criminal, you're a traitor, and you're going to the biggest barbecue in history. So from Christmas dinner to you are the dinner.
Thank you, that's what I'll go with.
For centuries, or at least one, humankind has turned its mind to the great philosophical question of our time. A conundrum, a dilemma, a paradox so baffling an entire Trappist monastery in Ostrog, Montenegro, have wasted their fucking lives contemplating this enormous question. Does a SovCit, just travelling along, not driving, no commercial contract with the illegal government, just a free man or indeed woman travelling the great open roads of the American Midwest, need to put their headlights on when driving at night?
No.
The answer, and this will outrage a lot of SovCits, is yes.
Boo.
According to an Ohio court.
Illegitimate.
We're not sure what the Trappist monks think because they've taken a vow of silence and we don't do Ozplan.
No.
But Ohio seems to have figured this out, according to Cleveland.com.
The notorious Cleveland.com.
Oh, this actually came from a local Fox News network. Cleveland.com. But yes, go on.
Not to be mistaken with Fox News. Local Fox News affiliates actually do reasonably good local work.
They do. Yeah, they do.
A patrol officer noticed an Acura Road driving north on Orange Place. I think Acura Road is like a Honda or something. Driving north on Orange Place, Orange, Ohio, without headlights on at 10:52 p.m. September 26th. That's nighttime. Making a traffic stop near the I-271 northbound entrance ramp. There was a lot of America in there. Asking the Cleveland woman for a driver's license and proof of insurance, she explained that she did not need them because she was not driving, but rather traveling in her own capacity.
There you go.
Yep.
Just out doing a bit of travelling at 10 to 11 at night with the headlights off.
Saving energy. It's climate change.
By the way, Orange, Ohio is a village probably about an hour's drive southeast of Cleveland.
I fucking dread to think how they vote.
Yeah.
Not well.
Ohio's looking like a rock solid red, by the way. But all this woman was doing was just a bit of travelling at 10 to 11 at night with the headlights off. Mm-hmm. The philosophical question is, should law enforcement who see the SovCit driving with the headlights off commence pursuit, knowing that if the SovCit drives around with the headlights off at night for long enough, they will almost certainly die horribly in a car crash? Or do the wallopers intervene on behalf of the public who this idiot might plough into with their fucking headlights off? It's a real noodle scratcher.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, my money is on her hitting a lamppost and good fucking riddance. But listeners, it seems it was not the only problem our blacked out SovCit had with the road laws of the illegal government.
Oh, dear.
Joel.
During later cognitive and field sobriety tests, the woman, quote, offered to conduct some of her own tests on the officer.
Just the mind boggles, doesn't it?
Did she get gloves out and slap them against her wrist?
It's her right. It's her right to offer her own version of the sobriety test. I mean, it's a little bit like the Steve Martin film, The Man with Two Brains, when he got pulled over by the Austrian police and was given a field sobriety test. And he ends up having to do cartwheels and handstands and all this sort. He goes, boy, you Austrian police do really have some field sobriety tests. I know, but look, that aside, this is her right.
Absolutely.
When she's been arrested to question the police.
Well, noticing signs of impairment and a strong scent of breath mint, the weapon of choice for all drunks in this situation, police determined she was unfit to operate a motor vehicle, which I think personally, without booze, is still true. But anyway.
Yeah, a couple of Mentos in the gob when she was pulled over, gave the game away, and the cops put her in handcuffs and took her away.
Aww, so she was taken to the Solon jail. That sounds like a very weird small town.
It wouldn't be nice.
No.
Food wouldn't be good.
No. Maybe Waffle House, not so bad. And the charges were elevated to refusing a breathalyzer, and she already had a suspended license. No wonder she didn't need one. She didn't have one. That's great.
Damn those lousy criminal antecedents. She had paid her debt to society, which she's not part of, by still travelling along without a licence, which she didn't need because she was just travelling. And in that case, it is within her sovereign rights, as laid out both in the Constitution and a textbook she flipped through on 17th century Portuguese maritime law.
Damn right.
And she realised she had so many rights, she may as well celebrate by having a couple or 3 drinks before getting behind the wheel and lurching out into the murk of night.
Yeah, didn't you realise they had a rally recently and they got civil liberties again? It's part of the demands. It's all been fixed now. So we don't know where this is all going to end. We just don't. But we probably can't really go to the scoreboard as a result.
No, not at the minute.
We can't comment on things that are before the courts, for the scoreboard to mock SovCits for consistently losing.
But we do know she had a previous conviction for driving while impaired, which means she could have been driving completely fucked up or driving around in the dead of night with her fucking headlights switched off, or both.
Both.
Hell, she could have been tripping off her trolley on the bad brown acid and driving Cleveland's highways while brushing invisible spiders off her face. But that's her right, listeners.
That's right.
It's in the Constitution. No, not that one.
No. The other one. Yeah, the other one. The Wayne glue cells.
I'm a staunch patriot. I love our country. I love our freedoms. I love that in Australia you can be anything that you want to be. There is nothing and no one stopping you from achieving your hopes, your aspirations, and your dreams.
It has been a huge week in Pete Evans.
No.
Although, has it? Not really. I don't think it's been a huge week in Pete Evans for a while now, if I'm being honest. Now, yes, he has a craggy face. It's not getting any better. Yes, he's a gullible rube who shares obvious Russian propaganda on his Telegram channel to an audience of bots and a handful of homeschooling mums who still think he's kind of hot. But you just can't get blood from stone. Pete just isn't funny anymore. The jokes are no longer writing themselves. I'm fucking working to make this guy work.
Look, for mine, it's all about Ralphie Babet now.
Yeah.
He's not only a complete idiot, but he writes his own material.
That's very Taylor Swift of me.
It is very, very important. No longer must we report on the latest drivel that Pete shared from wellness fuckwit and Russian stooge David Avocado Wolf. We are going to let Babsy take the tail of the show because, quite frankly, he is much funnier than Pete Evans and he deserves a bit of a kicking.
Absolutely. He really does. And look, just so you know what has made this decision easy, let's do a little compare and contrast of what Pete's up to.
Yeah.
And then what Babet's up to. Okay? So Pete posted an image of Elon Musk, which has clearly been photoshopped so he has an actual chin, wearing a black Make America Great Again cap with this caption.
Some may see this photo and perhaps feel fear. There's a full stop after photo.
The punctuation's fucked.
And perhaps feel fear. Some may see it and feel hope. Others may feel deep distrust. And others may feel anger or perhaps confusion or hunger or something. No, he didn't say that. Feel anger or perhaps confusion. Our perception, ... based on our beliefs, is everything. Enjoy the show. Popcorn, popcorn, popcorn. Love, love, love.
Okay. Fuck. Thanks, Pete.
What a waste of kilobytes that is.
What the fuck would... What did you just read? What did I just read? What did we just absorb?
We're sick of you, Pete.
That was so shit. What kind of weird cult brain shit did... Anyway.
It's just all over the place. It's 5 bob each way.
This isn't funny. This is just fucking weird.
Yeah, and sad.
Yeah. Well, in contrast of that sad expression of just weird cooked brain syndrome, Ralph Babet posted this on Twitter.
His own words. Kamala Harris is a globalist puppet. Should she win, it could mean an escalation of conflicts in Europe. Unless you want to send your children to die on European battlefields, support people like President Trump.
This is... You can't.
Should she win, it could mean an escalation, therefore millions will die.
And otherwise, President Trump will do the honourable thing of just giving Eastern Europe to Putin.
This is idiocy out of the top drawer.
It's just incredible. The idea that in any way, shape or form, Kamala Harris winning the election is going to result in Australians being sent to European battlefields.
Gallipoli again.
It's just, but this man doesn't think. The thing that's great is that he would have got this from a Telegram group telling him that was on the cards. And he would have been like, oh, this is a fucking great tweet. I've got to post this.
Hey, fingers do your work.
Sausage fingers, mind you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, the fact that he's clearly should be on Putin's payroll is one thing, but the fact that he's doing it for free is embarrassing. But we just know the alphabet agencies are watching.
Not really. He's getting 200 large from the taxpayer.
Yes, not from fucking Putin. He's not getting fucking, Tim Pool money. Not that he deserves it. Not that either of them deserve it. Anyway, so
but he's not doing it for free.
No,
is my point.
No. But he could not shill for the Russians and be an Australian senator and still get paid. So, that's what I'm going. Now, this is very important news here because Pete posted a picture of something called black cherry vincotto alongside a bit of chicken and some lettuce with this caption.
Stoked to give this delicious tasting black cherry vincotto a whirl today. We drizzled it over some organic rocket leaves that sat next to crispy skin roasted Misty Creek chicken leg. Gee, that's a very, very
He knows
poor
the postcode of the
punctuation
chicken. That's good.
And then there's a comma there for some reason, which was roasted over some red onions. We also added some of the black cherry vincotto into the roasting juices at the end and poured this over the chook.
Cool.
You see, listeners, you see the problem we're having here.
I'm so bored already. So I don't know if he's getting a kickback for this, or maybe just doing it with some mates. The product itself seems kind of nice. Very small bottle, very expensive. But Pete doesn't have problems with money, and neither should you, because if you have problems with money, you just need to pick yourself up that bootstraps and do more cocaine and cook more pizzas. But that's still boring. I get the fact that he's going back to food. I get the fact that he's playing the hits. He's trying to become mainstream relevant again. He won't, because he says weird shit about Elon Musk. But you can't compete with Babet because he came out with this.
Would you be okay with your kids being taught about bestiality at school? Protect children. Join the movement. Is he having a bowel? Is he on the Brasco? Is he tweeting that up on the Brasco? Join the movement. I'm having one right now.
So glad you said that because I felt like I was the only one. I'm like, is my mind broken like an 8-year-old? Because all I can see is join the bowel movement.
He's just backing out of King Brown.
Yeah, totally. Man, he's a repulsive idiot. So I don't know. Did you see the video?
No. My touches on Babs just don't extend to any sort of video material at all.
Neither. But what I did is I just watched the subtitles where it just says what he says. So he's there on some lectern doing a speech somewhere, God knows where, and it's painfully done. It's like someone recorded him on a phone, but then decided to maybe have an epileptic fit as they recorded it. It was horrible. And interspersed with pictures of women and children in it. It was fucking weird. The new video editor needs to be fired. But what he was saying is that someone told him in school they were teaching them about bestiality in great detail.
Don't do bestiality or help yourselves. That Labrador over there is good.
Didn't get that detail. The rage bait didn't go that far. We don't know how old they are. We don't sort of know anything. All we know is that we should be upset because the children need to be protected and we need to join the bowel movement. That's the main takeaway. But isn't that great? And you know what? He had a follow-up.
I should have titled this video at Corey Bernardi was right.
Yeah.
And that's the reference, obviously, to Corey Bernardi during the same-sex marriage postal plebiscite.
Bingo.
Saying, listen, it's a slippery slope from which all of a sudden people will be out there banging dogs and cats left, right and centre and everyone will be cheering them on.
Now, I take issue with that, Jack. I take issue with that. I don't think that is correct. I have been banging pets way before the plebiscite. I think that is just wrong.
I think it's very niche what we're talking about now. And we need to be very careful, Joel. Otherwise, this podcast will not go any further. This particular episode won't go any further. It's one of those things, it's a bit of a no-no to speak about in good company, and certainly in a fucking school.
Well, luckily they don't do that because that's insane. I did actually try to find where this came from.
And there's just no evidence. Just none. Just completely made up.
There's just nothing. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit. Anyway, and like chances are, like one of his constituents sent him a fucking letter, some Victorian who's like, you know, my kid went to school, they taught about bestiality, and then they controlled the weather, and then they injected them with vaccines. It was really fucking bad. And Babet's just like, I can't believe they did that. I'm shocked. You're an idiot, Ralph.
Yeah.
And these are the people these are your fucking constituents, you fucking moron. Anyway, so look, the choice was pretty obvious. I think you all agree. Do we want to continue this mindless sharing of dead shit propaganda by a washed-up pizza cook with way too much spare time on his hands? Do we want to stare deep into the corridors of power? Really deep. Like really, really deep? Because apparently he was whinging about the fact that his office is like at the arse end of Parliament House. He could never make divisions.
It's in the bunker.
Yeah, apparently like that's a real like sticking point for him, which is hilarious.
Hey, fat boy, lose some fucking weight and run when you're going to vote.
It hasn't been working because he hasn't changed at all. And let's just laugh at the absurd shit that Zippy Babet comes up with because he's pretty funny.
Well, look, I don't want to steal your content, Joel, but we've discovered from his Twitter feed he's a country and western fan.
He is.
He loves it. I mean, look, we've known, you know, like Mauritius is kind of like Nashville in many ways. That's where he's picked it up from.
Well, to give you an idea,
you're a man.
Ralph Deej Babet, his pivot to country music comes to me as a surprise because Ralph Babet is actually well known as being a big fan of electronic dance music.
Yeah, because he's the Deej, right?
He's the Deej. So the fact that he's pivoted to country music is basically just because he's so deeply ingrained in the Trump cult that the only thing he can now actually understand is songs about trucks and women not wanting to fuck him.
And to be fair, he's probably been hanging out with the National Party guys.
He probably has because he has no other friends. See how much better Babet is?
He's a classic idiot.
He's great.
And
he's fucking fantastic.
Our idiot, Joe.
He's our idiot. He's the mascot of the show. We are going to put him on a statue and we're going to burn it. So, sorry, Pete. It was fun while it lasted. And it is not me. It's you. You were kind of funny for ages. And we were there when you did the Nazi thing, when you got deplatformed. We were there for everything. It was great.
We loved you, Pete. But you let us down.
Totally let us down. He did like 65 posts last week. What the fuck am I going to do with that? It was all just licking Elon's fucking weird scalded anus. Like there was nothing good in there. So like, okay, while you prattle on about Democrats controlling the weather, I'm going to join the movement and save the kids.
Yeah.
And it's important.
Makes sense.
And Ralph Babet is just much funnier than you. Sorry, Pete.
Pete, you're fired.
You're fired.
You have been listening to the Conditional Release program with your host, Shaq the Insider and Joel Hill. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And if you've enjoyed our bullshit, throw us a 5-star review on your podcast app.
Yeah, look us up on Twitter, Jack the Insider, Crunchy Noses.
You know.
Whatever. But also join Patreon if you can. No one's going to top Leah.
Yeah.
That's $270 at once. But there's a lot of people who have actually been there for more than 12 months on the top tier. So we have to appreciate them as well. We love all of our patrons, great and small, but the great ones we love more. Sorry.
Yes, we do. We're cheap and easily bribed.
Exactly. So, you know, for as little as $5 a month, as we say, you can have all sorts of bonus content. And if you feel warm and fuzzy for helping us out, that is an extra bonus you can get.
Yeah.
The real thing you'll know
feel warm and fuzzy
is that you'll have kept the headlights on so Jack doesn't crash into a tree. Because you know he will. You know he will.
And finally, all feedback, tips, and death threats should be sent to the Conditional Release program at gmail.com.
Subject,
we would love
Matt
to hear from
Canavan.
you. Even if it's a tell us, you can see clearly now that you've turned your headlights off. Keep
That's
on
right.
traveling, folks.
The only vision you need is God. See you guys.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards!